Join your fellow Starseeds, Lightworkers, and Experiencers at the 2024 Full Disclosure Now Conference, this July 15th to 18th. This conference will be a fun and positively life-changing experience for so many. In addition to 4 days and nights of presentations, there will be special event dinners, dancing, fun time on the beach, UFO night watch tours, film screenings, vendors, and more at the lovely Serrata Beach Resort on St. Pete Beach, Florida. Over 34 Montauk Project survivors, Secret Space Program whistleblowers, ET contactees, and psychic healers will be presenting in the name of the Full Disclosure Movement. The truth must be revealed if we're all to achieve our Star Trek future here and now. Get your event passes and book your stay now at fulldisclosuremovement.org.
You want to learn about CE5 and extraterrestrial contact? Download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5, Frequencies of Contact.
Strand Podcast.
What's up, guys? This is Mike Beavers from The Theory, and you are listening to Alien Strand Podcast, the dopest UFO alien podcast out there. And if you want to find out about me, just go on YouTube and search UFOs over UFO or The Theory with Mike Beavers. Stay tuned, guys.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one. Man, I hope you guys have been catching up with me on Rumble. I have actually been on Rumble Live there, the audio and video podcast I've been going on there. And I really enjoyed doing that one. You know, it's that's one of my favorite things to do there as far as Rumble. I just I should have done this a long time ago, and I didn't. Because I kept getting flagged, right? Flagged on this one and flagged on that because I was, talking about probably disclosure, but they just kept saying, hey, you're naked, man. I'm like, what? I'm what? No, man, come on now. Come on, Eddie May. What's love got to do with it? Hey, you know what? I am a movie buff person, you know what I'm saying? I love films. I just love them. And I try to do the best I can. I watch a lot of films. I watch many, many films. So, and what I try to do is, I try to get as many things out there as possible as far as like, just a lot of these movies that are out there, right? Because they're freaking amazing, right? A lot of these newer movies are just amazing. I don't know if you guys caught that Rebel Moon, the first one about 6 months ago, and then they released the second one, right? Rebel Moon on Netflix. You gotta see these films, man. They're made by amazing director. You have to go check those out. I mean, if you're into like, the sci-fi kind of stuff, hey, and if you are, and if it's almost like ufology, right? Almost, but of course they make that up. What we do here is we tell the truth of exactly what it is, right? And then we try to do the best we can with it, right? Just getting the exposure out there and the disclosure and all the good stuff. So anyway, catch me on Rumble. Look for Alien Strand, right? Yeah, I'm still on X, and I'm still on YouTube, right? Facebook, I'm kind of cutting back on that, all right? But I noticed that a lot of you guys were going to the Alien Strand Disclosure Project page there on Facebook, which is great. If you want to be a ufologist, you want to learn ufology, that's the page to go to, right? And the only bad part about that is that when I see you guys, try to come through, try to join, you guys are not answering all the questions. And of course, we have to decline it. Come on, man. Just fill out just 3 questions. That's it. That's all we ask. Fill out all 3 questions. And if you don't have the answer, just say, I don't know, or no, or yes, and okay. That's it. All we need is your 3, and that's just for us, that we have to have that before we let you in the Alien Strand Disclosure Project page. Now, if you're in our Facebook page, Alien Strand Podcast, go catch us there too. I do throw a lot of things on there as well. I'm all over the place, man. So, speaking of all over the place, our movie, The Middle Part 2, finally came out on Amazon Prime. Yeah. So it finally came out, and I'm glad it did, right? It's because I was like, man, I really need to get this out there, right? And it just took a very, very long time to get the information out to them as much as possible, right? And I guess they were backed up, so it took about 6 weeks, mind you. As soon as I uploaded it, 6 weeks, man. But it's okay. It's all right. It is what it is. And, we as long as it's up there. So go to your Amazon Prime Video on your app. Go type in The Middle Part 2 CE3. You have to put that in there, because if you just put The Middle 2, it's not going to come out. Put The Middle 2 CE3 on your Amazon Prime. They're on your phone. They're on your TV. Go check out this film. This is my latest one. I'll be releasing Part 3 in about a month and a half from now, so please catch this film so you can catch Part 3. Now, the middle Part 1 is still on YouTube. It's still on Tubi TV for free. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on all those. Go check it out if you want commercials. If you don't, hey, it is what it is. That's what you're trying to get. But anyway, thank you guys for listening on today. Because, we have a lot to talk about, especially with ufology and all that good stuff that comes along with it, right? I haven't been on live on the audio for a while. And that's just because, I've been working on my stuff, working on my second book, trying to get things going, right? Oh, if you haven't got my other book, CE5 Frequencies of Contact, go check it out. It's there on Amazon Prime as well. Real cheap, $3.99. Go check it out, download it, put it on your tablet. It's a great guidebook to have if you're learning how to CE5. All right. Now, getting back to ufology. Now, I know ufology is not it's not like something that you're going to a university and getting a plaque and then, graduating with honors and all that stuff, right? Because it's almost like something that I guess you can say people kind of made it up in a sense, right? Because we first called them UFOs back in the 50s and the 40s, right? We got the name from Hynek, and so they tried to use that. And then, of course, what else is going to go with that, right? Ufology, right? Here we go. So, and that's where that came from, right? There was a lot of ufologists back in the days that were just trying to, make a difference and trying to show people what things were and what they weren't, right? So, and that's what we were trying to get across to folks, right? And it's just kind of hard to do when when you're trying to explain a lot of these things to people that really just kind of don't see it that way like we do, and we see ufology as a bigger thing, right? Because that's what it is. To us, it's a big, huge thing. Because what we're doing is we're giving disclosure, and as citizen ufologists, right? That's what we are. That's what we call you. If you're into this, you're studying it, you're taking pictures, you're doing all that good stuff to just try to keep everything, to try to figure out exactly what you're seeing up in the skies, right? That's what it is. That's what it is. I mean, you're just trying to figure all that out, right? And by doing that, going to these groups, us teaching you how to do ufology, that's how we just try to show you what we're learning, right? Because we're learning this on a daily basis, right? I mean, this ufology has been going around for quite some time now, right? But they haven't really put a format as how to learn it, right? So basically, you got to start from the beginning and then work your way up, right? That's how you do these things, and the beginning, of course, is seeing one, taking, pictures and trying to figure out how do I get these analyzed and using some kind of analysis techniques. And that's what we have on Ibach and Chris Hamill. And we have a lot of people do it, not just those two. Terry Lynch does it himself. We have, Danielle does it as well. A lot of people do it. David Aliff does it. A lot of our folks from Alien Strand Disclosure Project all are involved in these techniques and how to figure out how to see what we're seeing in the sky. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, there's things that look like bugs and some things are bugs, right? By the time you zoom in, you're going to get some wings in there, right? And you can kind of see the little antennas and things, and I know some folks probably say, no, that's a UFO. I get that part too, right? Because you're so used to seeing one, you think that everything is one, right? And that's not always going to be the case, right? You really have to look at things in a bigger perspective. A lot of times you have to, use things in the background for references as sizes. You know what I mean? Because you really have to know the sizes of what you're seeing, right? And compare them to a tree or a house or something that's in the sky that may be the same size as a bug or a bird, right? Or maybe a plane, right? And and that's the crazy part, right? That's the science of and the math really of it. It's not really rocket science to some people, because I just saw a video. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I post a lot of stuff on my Facebook, on my personal Facebook. If you go to my personal Facebook, go to all my links. I'll have it linked to this podcast, but it has a lot of my social media, a lot of stuff like that. But I constantly joke around, man, about things, right? Anyway, I didn't joke around at this, but I saw this guy. He posted a video of the sun. He used a Nikon P1000. And he used a shield on the front of on the lens so it doesn't burn his eye or burn the mirror that's in there. He started zooming into the sun, and zoomed in, and lo and behold, he starts seeing the sunspots. Right? He goes, look, and he starts saying, how are they saying that the sun is all these millions of miles away, further away from our moon, but yet I can see the sunspots, right? And why does it look almost the same size as the moon? Well, some people just don't realize how huge our sun is, right? And our sun is huge, like super huge. That's why a large object from far away looks up close, right? It's not science. It's just, it's just your spectrum of how you're seeing things, right? Some things look bigger than others, like they did in a lot of movies. You know how they put the dinosaur in front of the camera and then they put the people kind of far away and they made it look like the dinosaur was that huge? There you go. I just answered it for you. So, yes, the sun looks like it's right there, but it's not, all right? It is super huge. And you have to just think about it, how science works. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. But some people just don't really think. Okay, I didn't say that. But, that's just what it is. And how do you explain to people that that's what science is, right? Before they start posting stuff on TikTok and Facebook, and they're trying to get all these millions of hits and views, and then they give you that kind of conspiracy theory, theology in a sense, right? Because you're already thinking that, right? They already planted the seed in your head about that, right? And then you're like, oh, well, I don't know. Maybe it's not that far away. And the reality is it's huge, man. The sun is huge. And I'm going to tell you how big it is. It's about 109 times the diameter of the Earth, right? That's how big it is. 109 times bigger. So, of course, as it's far away, it just looks like it's small, but it's not. And it's about 864,000 miles, or somewhere around there. That's how far it is from us. And these are the things that you try to figure out as people are posting these things on Facebook, right? So we're like, okay, all right. So that got debunked right away. And I don't like to do that to people, but it's just the reality of the truths that I see, right? And how do you not see that? As far as the thought process, I think way outside the box. So that's why I get a lot of that where it comes from. As we were talking about ufology. Now, the only reason I bring that up because people talk about UFOs, ufology, and this almost the same kind of sense, right? And because I was comparing sizes right here, as far as like how big these UFOs are to what we're seeing in our cameras, right, or in a spectrum or whatever is we're catching in the photograph, and it's kind of hard to tell exactly, how big these things really are as we're comparing them, as they are large and the distance as far they are from the camera or the lens. A lot of lenses tend to make things bigger than what they are, right? Almost like a zoom lens does that. Now, I don't know if I do photography on the side, and that's what I take pictures of folks and for graduations and things like that. But if you compare when you put your lens, if you have a 35 millimeter standard 35 millimeter lens, and you snap your camera with it at somebody's face, it's going to look almost normal. That's about the place where you want to take a picture of somebody's face, right? So as you start going to 50, once you go to 50 millimeter, the face starts looking a little bit bigger. It gets rounder and it has like a different shape to it, right? 50. The 50 is almost 35, between 35 and 50 is almost where you want to be, right? But then once you go to 85, the face looks a little bit more rounder, right? And that's because the spherical lenses, sometimes they have that rounding effect on the outside of the lenses, and you don't see that in pictures. So a lot of times you have to use your Lightroom or whatever to correct that and get that spherical out of it, so it'll make the face look normal. What I'm trying to say here is, when you're taking a picture with a lens as a UFO, you're going to get that kind of little distortion around the lens, and it's going to make things rounder or bigger than they appear as you zoom in, okay? So just kind of think about that next time that you're taking a photo or a video of a UFO. So try to get the distance of it first, the widest zoom that you can first on video, and then after that, you can start zooming in, because you want... If you're going to get it analyzed, or you're thinking of doing it, make sure that you get the wider part of it first. Don't just zoom into it right away, because then it's going to be hard for an analysis to try to figure that out, right? Because of the first shot, you zoomed in so fast that they weren't ready to really get an accurate reading of how big this ship really is, if you see one, right? So, ufology is that's part of ufology, right? Taking pictures, getting the data and the information, and then figuring out exactly what these things are. If it's man-made, or if it's, something that's unworldly, right? And we've been trying to figure that for a long, long time, right? I'm just going to give you a quick definition of what ufology is. This is an investigation of unidentified flying objects, hello, UFO, by people who believe that they may be on extraordinary origins, most frequently of extraterrestrial or alien visitors. While there are instances of government, private, fringe science investigations of UFOs, ufology is generally regarded by skeptics and science educators. As an example, as you know, they use us pretty much like that. Like, hey, these guys are just skeptics. They're not. I mean, it's not something that's diagnosed in science 100%, right? To where they can actually grab it, touch it, break it down, know what the elements are. Until you can physically touch something, that's all we are, is going to be skeptics on UFOs and extraterrestrials. Until you actually have one in front of you, where they can test how long the fingers are, right? What kind of blood it has, yada, yada, how big the eyes are, the diameters, if it has a nose, ears, does it have intestines, does it have a heart, anything like that. Does it have any kind of organs whatsoever, right? So if you can do that, then we don't become skeptics anymore. And that's the problem between ufology and the realism of science, and giving off the name ufology of what we're trying to do here, right? And that's the hard part of trying to figure out, how do we do that, right? Our science is trying to figure out, how these things, jump to our, atmosphere in our galaxies using quantum physics. Of course, we've heard of element 115. We've never seen it, but we know around, I think they said, 2013, that it finally surfaced, right? Something like that finally surfaced. That's what I heard. And this element 115 was brought out from Bob Lazar in 1997, somewhere around there, right? It wasn't even, it never existed. Then the Russians tried to redo it and recreate it, call it Moscovium, right? But it lit up like a match. That's how fast this thing just disintegrated. It worked for just that 1 millisecond, and it just disintegrated that fast. So if you don't have something in your hand to figure out how these things fly, we don't even have one in our hands. As far as what do they do in universities, right? When you study, let's just try, you're going to be a doctor, right? You have to work on a cadaver, right? So you're actually going to be physically touching a dead body there, trying to figure out blah 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 how this works for the brain, the eyes, yada yada yada, right? So the same thing goes with anything else. Mechanics, if you're going to be a mechanic, you're going to be an electrician, anything that blue collar kind of schools, things like that. It's hands-on, right? These are real things that you're trying to do. But ufology is not a part of that, because you can't touch it. You don't have physical evidence in your hand, and have enough evidence to say, let's just go ahead and make a curriculum out of it, right? They can't. You can make one up, but it's not going to be accepted in any schools, platforms, anywhere whatsoever because of that. And that's the reality of ufology, of what ufology is, right? On the acceptance of being a ufologist. That's why we call ourselves citizen ufologists, for that same reason, right? Because we're trying to figure this out on our own. Our science is actually the videos, the photos. Some of us actually have, some physical evidence of a craft that they're carrying with them. I mean, Linda Howe has some hidden away. I believe she showed it on Ancient Aliens. They don't want you to have that. And that's the crazy thing about ufology, right? And how the science is around it, and how it occurred and how it started. I mean, these sightings were from 1946. There's a guy named Kenneth Arnold. He had a sighting of a flying saucer. A lot of this started right around the wars, right? When we started adding atmospheric pressures to our skies. Think about this just for a minute, right? So when during New Year's or 4th of July or the Year of the Dragon or anything like that, people are popping these fireworks, going crazy. New Year's, what happens to your dogs? They go nuts, right? Or during a thunderstorm, lightning, right? I have dogs that are fearful of thunder and lightning. And they can hear it from miles and miles away as it's cracking up in our sky, right? That's the disturbance that's audible to them, not to me. So when these people were starting to drop these big bombs during World War I, because they were using cannons, I'm sure even before when they were doing wars in the 1700s, you started using these big booming devices. That's when a lot of these UFOs were started to come around. Now, they didn't really start coming around until they started dropping and testing for nuclear weapons. We all noticed that, right? We all noticed when that happened. That's when the sightings increased. Because there's a disturbance in our atmosphere when these things are happening, right? Boom! You see the reaction when I've seen videos of Afghanistan when they drop these big bombs and then they get this blast about a minute and a half later down the road, right? These are the things that are traveling within our skies, right? So these things are picking these things up, right? I'm talking about the UFOs are picking up these frequencies as it's disturbing the atmosphere, because you got to remember, everything that's around us is almost universally connected, right? And I talk about that in my book, CE5. But we're all universally connected, right? Through frequencies and sound waves, right? So this is why the ufology, as far as the word, the terminology of it, as far as these UFOs started coming by more and more, this is where we got the term from, because we said, you know what? Let's find a guy. We need a guy, right? Our military's the Air Force. We need a guy, right? And we need somebody that's in science, somebody that can figure things out. Yada yada. Here we go, right? And we also need a fall guy. If you really think about it, they were just looking for somebody to, just in case, they didn't find anything and it was a big joke and a hoax, or they needed somebody to deter people from the actual truth. From 1947, right? Crash of Roswell. So how to deter people is, we're going to get this guy. Let's hire this guy. And he's going to let you know, he's going to go back and he's going to research everything that people's been seeing. And when these calls come in because everybody back then, look, think about this for a minute. We didn't have internet. We didn't have none of that. Just a basic telephone and maybe a camera. If you were lucky, if you had a camera with you, right? So the only result that people had to, or resort actually to, that people had when they saw something odd was, first, they call the police, local sheriff. Second, they'd call the USS government, the government, right? Everybody did that. I mean, everybody did that back then. Because they trusted the government. The government was supposedly reporting these things. They were actually protecting our coasts, right? Because there was 1943. Here we go. 1941, we were in war. So everything went towards the government at the time. Our military forces, mind you. So what I'm getting back to is, after a while, because everybody just trusted them. That's it. We're going to call these guys and see what they have. Bam, bam, bam. And there we go. Right? And they got tired of getting a phone call. So they said, well, let's get this guy, Mr. Alan Hynek, and let's figure this out. Let's have him figured out. Let him get all the phone calls and try to figure out exactly what they're seeing. And if it is real, well then, we'll just nod it down, report it, but there's really nothing we can do about it until we have evidence. And if it comes out that, there's more real than fake, than just things that we can explain, then we'll use him as a fall guy if something happens, right? This is how they think, right? So these ufologists were studying crop circles back then, cattle mutilations, anomalous materials that were on the ground sometimes, alien abductions. They were studying implants. They were studying all that stuff. A lot of things like Majestic 12, conspiracy theories of Roswell, they just kind of kept hush-hush. They wanted people not to think about that, right? So they use these guys. Now, why not use them, right? And these are the guys that were, the godfathers of ufology, really, in reality. If the government would have never found these guys to put them on the map, I don't know if somebody would have did it on their own, if it would have taken off as far as ufology as we know it today. I mean, we would have probably grasped the concept of it and named it again, but I think that what these guys did were the actual godfathers of, even if they found less than 20% to be unidentified. In other words, these were real. They can't say real. They say they were real unidentified flying. They're real UFOs, right? And the rest, 80%, were identifiable, right? So these guys did the best they could to get out all the evidence as much as could. And then when they got out, they wrote their books, right? Hynek actually named everything from Close Encounters of the First Kind to the Fifth Kind, right? Fourth Kind, I mean. He named them all the way down. Till recently, Dr. Stephen Greer named a fifth kind. So these are the people that are making a difference in our world today, and especially other ufologists such as myself, Terry Lynch, Chris Hamill, Marisol, Danielle, all these people, David Aliff, Heather in Ireland, Paul in the UK. We're constantly figuring these things out, right? And we're tying them into human correlation. In other words, how they intersect with humans. And, that's the hardest thing to do. And that's why I decided to put those in an actual documentary. Because I had to show the world how these things were happening to people. And in my research, in other words, like, this is how it's happening. This is exactly how it's happening to people. This is where it begins. This is the beginning part of it. This is the middle of it. That's why I have the middle part 1, the middle part 2, the middle part 3, and the middle part 4 will be the last one, right? Of that whole tetralogy. That's what's going to be. And that's what you call for. So it's crazy that it takes us to figure out ufology and what it is and what it's worth. I think it's worth a hell of a lot, to you guys out there that are listeners to the show and listeners to other shows. Like Joe Rogan's he's a great podcaster, and he said he's turned. When I first started listening to him, as far as the ufology part of it, he barely believed, maybe like 50%. Now, if you ask him today, he's pretty close to 100% that extraterrestrials do exist, right? So it took him to interview all these people, these important folks that are in the field of the government fields, and were in the government field, like Bob Lazar, Graver, all these people that he interviewed in order to get him to think a little bit outside the box. Because the reality is that the eyes are the windows to the soul, but the eyes are also recording everything that's happening, right, in your mind. And when somebody's telling the truth, they don't change their story whatsoever at all, period. And if you listen to these guys talk and tell their story over and over and over, they have not changed their story whatsoever. So that's how you know the truth prevails in their minds, because this is where it was recorded, right? And some of it was recorded on tape. Hello. And that's the best part of it. Now we have many computers in our hands. So we're able to do this, and catch these on a daily basis, right? This is how we do it. And as we're doing this, like I always tell you guys, be safe to do it. Don't record inside your vehicle, because you're going to get smudges on the window. It's going to look like a bug, yada, yada. Here we are trying to figure it out. Stick your head out the window, give it to your phone to your passenger, pull over where it's safe to do so, take your video, take your photos, bam, there you go, right? Do it the safe way, right? If you can, if you see something, record it, send it to Alien Strand Disclosure Project, -UFO.com. Go there, report your UFO there, report it to MUFON. I don't care who you report it to, as long as we have the information and it's recorded. That's what we want. And that's what ufology is, man, in a nutshell, really in reality. That's what it is. And as citizens ufologists, right, we can make a difference in figuring out exactly what we're seeing here. Maybe, I don't know, maybe in 10, 15 years, well, there'll actually be a real class in a university for it, right? But we have to have a lot more concrete evidence as far as using manometers and all these different gadgets in order to figure out, electronic magnetic fields, the numbers, the ratios. We have to have all that, and for it to be a positive result, we have to have positive results, right? We can't have negative results in order to make this work or make it happen, right? And we need a lot of concrete evidence. And without the concrete evidence is you. You are the concrete evidence, because you are going to be providing that to ufologists, to yourself, and to future ufologists around the world, because that's who listens. And I'm glad you guys were able to catch this podcast today. I know I hadn't done one in a while. I love talking about this stuff. And I'm actually going to be on a podcast. I'm going to record me tonight. And I'm going to have one here that's going to be out of Canada. And I'll let you know when that podcast comes out. And then, I'm going to be the guest, actually, on their show. And it's called the Tainted Tea Podcast. So check them out. Also, I'm going to be on the Dead Friend podcast again in the UK. I'll be on his. We'll be talking about some UFOs, new stuff, the new movie, things like that. You can get more details on it. So if you remember, go check out our Skylight channel. They're on Facebook. Go check it out. Skylight 1. You'll see it there. There's free web TV. You can actually watch free web TV. I put all those movies and shows all for you guys, right? It's all there, man. Skylight 1 shows UFOs, Bigfoots, documentaries, films. Skylight Movie just shows a bunch of movies about UFOs, paranormal, horror, all that good stuff. And then we have a paranormal channel which just shows nothing but paranormal documentaries, films, things like that. So catch those on Skylight Web TV. Actually, you can go to alienstrand.com. Go to alienstrand.com. Go look at where it says, click on Alien TV. Open that right there, and you'll see it. You'll start seeing the films right there. They start popping out right away. They'll populate for you, so you can watch them as they come out. There's a TV guide there at the bottom on that channel, and just hit the Skylight one at the bottom. If you want to see UFO stuff, that channel will show completely different things. But anyway, thank you guys for listening to today's show. It was my absolute pleasure. I hope you got a lot of good stuff out of this. I rambled a little bit, but I want you guys to understand what ufology really is, because this is what it is to me. All right, so don't forget, catch the middle 2 on Amazon Prime. Go look at my book, CE5, Frequencies of Contact. Download it, go read it. It's a quick read. Take you about 2 hours to read it, and you'll get some information. Everything that I give out there is informative, because it's all for you. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Now, if you guys have reached out to me on my instant messenger, things like that, I cannot get back to you right away. I'm a busy person. Have you noticed? I got 2 podcasts going on. I got my regular podcast on Rumble. I got my films that I'm editing, and I'm writing my book, okay? And I work 2 jobs as well. Ticker jobs. If you guys remember that one. Anyway, I'm constantly working, so I can't get back to you guys right away, and I apologize for that. I don't mean to, but hey, one guy even unfriended me. I'm not going to be your friend anymore because, you're not answering me. I said, man, dude, I'm sorry. I'm trying, but I can't get back to you right away. Sorry, my bad. But hey, try again. Maybe. But, hey, they lost out. I didn't. I was trying to help them. It is what it is. But hey, I can always point you out to ASDP representatives. They know just as much as I do. Okay? So, thank you guys for listening to today's show. I really appreciate you guys. Catch us on 24, 28 platforms on audio podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, CastBox, Apple Podcasts, you name it. We are now live on Rumble. Yes, you can watch us on Rumble. Search Alien Strand. Go look for us there. And it'll go to our YouTube. It'll take you to our YouTube, our video pages, all that stuff. Please follow us at Rumble. We really appreciate you guys. We are not going to be on Facebook very much more anymore because nudity. I'm showing too much nudity. They say I'm naked. No, that ain't happening. All right, guys. Have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
About CE5 and extraterrestrial contact. Download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5, Frequencies of Contact.